Silently, the canopy leaves absorb the light. Underneath, the jungle breathes. But the jungle lies. It deceived you. For centuries, we were taught that this green mantle was an unfathomable void, a virgin land where only wild nature and small, wandering bands of hunters and gatherers had survived. That was the brutal truth the Western world accepted and codified in its history books. Now, look again. Look at the ground, not the sky. Not the surface, but the secret that the earth holds. The betrayal of history is over. Something vast, something epic, something silenced by underbrush and blood is emerging before our eyes. It is not a village. It is not a camp. It is a metropolis rivaling the great European capitals of its time. Imagine the scene. It is 1542. Greed and glory have led the explorer, Francisco de Orellana, to the edges of the green hell. Exhausted and on the brink of despair, his small party emerges from the thicket. And what they see defies all logic. Orellana did not find a paradise. He found a civilization. He described white cities, fortified walls, irrigation networks stretching as far as the eye could see, and a population so dense that he felt overwhelmed. He spoke of chieftains dressed in golden feather robes, of roads that crossed the jungle like arteries, and of a culture organized with astonishing complexity. Upon his return to Spain, the royal audience listened to him. Then, the world crucified him. He was labeled a fabulist, a visionary intoxicated by tropical fever. Cities in the Amazon. Impossible. It was the land of nothingness, not of glory. Orellana died shortly after, his testimony buried under the weight of disbelief and envy. For 500 years, his truth was a forbidden legend. Traditional archaeology focused on the Andes, on the Incas, on the Mayans, dismissing the Amazon basin as a mere cultural desert, incapable of sustaining intensive agriculture or complex social structures. The brutal consensus was simple. The jungle was the destroyer of civilization, but the jungle, ironically, became its protector. Now, technology is unearthing Orellana's revenge, and the weapon is invisible. LiDAR. Imagine an airplane flying over the canopy. This airplane does not take photos. It emits laser pulses, thousands per second, penetrating the densest leaves. The lasers bounce off the ground, mapping the bare topography like never before. It's like digitally stripping the jungle away, layer by layer. And what LiDAR reveals is the definitive record of historic betrayal. Beneath the dense layer of vegetation, elevated platforms emerge, perfect geometric earthworks, ceremonial plazas larger than football fields, and most strikingly, a complex maze of elevated roads connecting crucial points in the landscape. These are not cities made of stone, like Machu Picchu. They are cities made of earth, of hydraulic engineering and soil knowledge, designed to dominate the most hostile ecosystem on the planet. We are talking about the culture of the Llanos de Moyos, the Casarabe, the network of Alto Xingu. Names that are only just being written in history books, but once were empires. Consider the ingenuity. Amazonian soils are poor, acidic, unable to sustain the massive agriculture needed to feed millions. Yet, these people did it. How? With a technology that even today, in the 21st century, we have not fully replicated, terra preta. This black earth, the most fertile soil on the planet, is not natural. It was created. It was the result of a soil engineering process carried out over centuries, mixing ashes, charcoal, food scraps, and pottery into a stable, deep compost that transforms nutritional desert into a productive garden. Terra preta is not only evidence of advanced agriculture, it is the chemical signature of a massive civilization. Millions of people lived here. Millions. The empire was not in the stone cities we seek. It was in the fields they cultivated, in the land they created. But if they were so ingenious, if they managed to dominate their environment in such a brutally efficient way, why did they disappear? Why did official history only find the virgin jungle? The answer lies in the very moment Orellana set foot on the riverbank. The glory of his discovery was overshadowed by an even darker shadow than the jungle itself. The great conquerors did not carry only swords and crosses. They carried invisible death. Smallpox, measles, European diseases raced ahead of the explorers. As Orellana advanced, civilization was already crumbling, a victim of a biological vengeance it could not combat. Imagine the slaughter. Society collapses in a matter of decades. The roads are left empty, ceremonies cease, earth pyramids erode, and the jungle, ever patient, rushes in, covering every trace of glory, silencing forever the voices of the millions who had built an empire under the equatorial sun. The jungle is not virgin, it is a graveyard. It is the mantle of oblivion that hides the greatest and most sophisticated civilization we have erased from memory. What we are witnessing today is not a discovery, it is a rescue. It is the opportunity to rewrite history and give voice to those who were brutally silenced 500 years ago. How many other civilizations lie beneath our feet, waiting for technology to free them from the betrayal of time? The Earth still holds epic secrets. If the mystery of forbidden history and lost empires captivates you, be sure to hit the subscribe button. In the next episode, we will unravel the mystery of Terra Preta and reveal how this lost technology could save our future. The truth lies just below. In 1542, upon returning from that green expanse, Francisco de Orellana was a ghost bearing an uncomfortable truth. He had seen the glory and wealth of civilizations that no one in Europe believed possible. He was dismissed as delusional. He was silenced with academic disdain. For 500 years, official history was a betrayal, a brutal lie. The Amazon was a biological desert, scarcely occupied by nomadic groups that had not managed to master nature. They lied to us. Imagine for a moment what archaeologists felt when, for the first time, the laser beam of LiDAR pierced through that thick canopy, that vegetal curtain that had guarded its secret for half a millennium. The soil, which was supposed to be sterile, revealed an unmistakable urban scar. It was not a matter of small, scattered villages. We are talking about a sophisticated and gigantic urban network spanning kilometers, a monumental infrastructure that rivaled and even surpassed many European cities of the time. They were centers of population with ceremonial plazas, elevated walkways that defied flooding, and hydraulic systems designed for massive scales. They were not gatherers, they were engineers. The magnitude of this discovery is so striking that it rewrites every chapter we know about human development in South America. It is estimated that these hidden empires managed populations easily reaching 10 or 20 million inhabitants. How is it possible to sustain such a number of people in an environment where soil nutrients wash away with every tropical rain? This is where the true mystery of their lost technology comes in, a secret even deeper than their ruins. Terra Preta, or Black Earth. Terra Preta is not a natural soil. It is a human creation. It is tangible evidence of an agrarian science that we have either prohibited or forgotten. These peoples did not just live in the jungle, they were designing it. They took organic matter, charcoal, and waste, and alchemically transformed them into super fertile soil, capable of regenerating and sustaining massive crops indefinitely. It was the foundation of their glory, the engine that powered their cities and their armies. This technology, which we today struggle to replicate effectively, was key to their survival. It demonstrates that the myth of the primitive noble savage is merely another layer of historical betrayal that cloaked their true legacy. But then, if they were so advanced, if they wielded the technology of life itself, What kind of brutal force could have erased them so completely from the face of the earth? The answer is not simple, but it is terrifying. When Orellana sailed down the Great River, civilization was already dying. He did not witness the splendor at its height. He saw the death throes. The true invasion did not travel in galleons or on horseback. It traveled in the breath and on the clothing of the first explorers. The disease. Imagine the lethality of smallpox, flu, or measles unleashed upon a population that had no immunological defenses. The mortality was instantaneous and overwhelming. Blood flowed, not so much from swords, but from fever and cough. Before the conquerors could claim those cities or impose their rule, they had already turned into graveyards. It was a biological vengeance, a silenced massacre where nature, aided by invisible pathogens, reclaimed the space. The demographic collapse was so catastrophic that in just a few decades, the 10 million inhabitants dwindled to a few thousand scattered souls. The walkways cracked. The plazas were invaded by roots. The sophisticated terra preta system, no longer maintained by millions of hands, began to give way. Time buried not only the structures, but also the memory of their existence. This is the forbidden truth that LiDAR is exhuming. We are not merely finding bricks and ceramics. We are uncovering the scene of a historical crime. And the question we must ask ourselves now, as we observe these cities rising again like digital ghosts, is this: if such a vast and technologically superior civilization could be erased so quickly, what other empires lie waiting beneath our feet for the light of technology to liberate them from the betrayal of silence? The jungle hides more secrets than humanity is ready to face. If the history and technology that reveal mysteries fascinate you, be sure to hit the subscribe button. In our next episode, we will delve into the science of terra preta and reveal whether this lost technology could, ironically, be the key to saving our own future in a world facing climate crisis. They lied to you. We believed that the relentless green jungle had defeated humanity, that the vastness of the Amazon was simply too great for organized civilization. But LiDAR shows us a much harsher truth. It was not the jungle. It was the disease. Imagine it. Millions of souls living in a sophisticated network of garden cities, an ecological system that defied nature itself. Building earth pyramids and managing the basin as if it were a vast planned orchard. Suddenly, an invisible enemy arrives with the first explorers, unnoticed by anyone, even the Europeans themselves. Measles, smallpox, influenza. Mundane diseases brought from the old world turned into weapons of brutal annihilation. The population, without immunity, fell like a house of cards. The density of those mega cities that LiDAR reveals to us now, that very glory, became their death sentence. The collapse was not gradual. It was a massive blood event, silenced by the underbrush. The cemeteries filled faster than they could dig. The biological betrayal was absolute. The survivors, decimated and traumatized, abandoned the large plazas and elevated roads. Internal struggles for scarce food and desperation ignited a final revenge against their own gods, who seemed to have abandoned them. In just 100 years, where once there was glory, trade, and millions of voices, only moss and the roar of the jaguar remained. Mother Nature, in her silent revenge, devoured the clay infrastructures and walls. When the second explorers arrived, they found only fragmented villages and tribes that remembered the legend of a grand time that no longer existed. Entire cities were reabsorbed by the forest in an act of final silence. And the official history, the story they told us, prohibited that truth. It was easier to believe in an empty jungle than to accept the magnitude of the disaster they had inadvertently unleashed. For 500 years, the narrative endured. But today, the light of LiDAR has broken the spell. We see not only roads and plazas, but the perfect geometry of advanced urban engineering that rivals the great cultures of Mesoamerica. the evidence of their glory still lies beneath our feet. But if there is a legacy that screams against oblivion, a signature that is the final proof of their sophistication, it is the terra preta. That dark, fertile, deep soil that is not natural. It was artificially created thousands of years ago, using charcoal, organic waste, and an alchemy that modern science is just beginning to understand. It's the fingerprint of a lost technology, proof that they achieved the impossible, to sustain millions of people and harvest the forest without destroying it. They did not just survive, they thrived. The terra preta is not just soil. It is the chemical revenge of a civilization against the history that tried to silence them. It is the key to their power. You must understand this. The Amazon was not a primitive desert. It was a technological garden, an empire that was brutally silenced by disease and buried by the betrayal of history. How many other stories of glory and downfall lie buried beneath our feet, waiting for the light of technology to be liberated? If this civilization, lost half a millennium ago, managed to create a form of eternal agriculture capable of sustaining life in a fragile ecosystem, what could that forbidden knowledge mean for us today in a world suffocated by climate change? Do not let history lie to you again. If you believe that the truth should be unearthed and that the memory of those millions of souls deserves glory, prove it. Subscribe and make sure to activate notifications. Let's not allow this story to fall into oblivion again. The terra preta is the key, and together we will unlock it in our next episode.